to Get Up and Teach. I'm Kathy D'Alessandro.
I'm Noelle Hoffmeister. Today we're talking about fourth graders, and we're talking about developmentally who your kids are and why we need to know that if we're going to teach them.
So it's more than just knowing them as people.
Yes.
Or them as things they like or dislike. There is a developmental stage, as we all know as educators, and you learn about it. But it's really important to hone in on these developmental stages in order for you to maximize these opportunities. I think every grade presents unique
Challenges
and opportunities that only happen because the way they're growing as a learner.
Yeah.
Truthfully. So
yeah.
Let's jump in on some of the things that make a fourth grader so amazing.
So fourth graders love to talk, if you haven't noticed that. They're super expressive. They want to tell you everything, and they're kind of reasoning out as they speak to you, because this is just how they think is verbally. You probably tell your class 1,000 times a day to stop talking. This is the developmental stage of where they are. But it's a beautiful thing, because if you can engage that fourth grader in a discussion, then you can get all kinds of learning in a really great classroom environment when that's used to their advantage. This is the year of I can't. So this is the year of, like, third grade, we start to struggle a little, but they'll still do some things for you. Fourth grade is the wall. I can't do that. It's impossible. And so they take that when they begin to struggle, they manifest it in a not and I'm going to try, but in a I'm done trying now.
In third grade, as they became more aware of where they were academically, in fourth grade, the I can't, because it becomes so solidified because third grade wasn't nurtured in having those opportunities to, for the lack of a better, fail forward.
Right.
Having this opportunity in dialogue, an intentional one. And yes, that's mindset. And yes, that's social emotional embedded together. But the fourth graders now have moved on, and they can see how others see them.
Mm-hmm.
So the third grader understood themselves. Now you're a year older, and they see how other people see them, or the stories they make up, whether they're true or not. Like, so
the narrative they create about themselves.
About themselves now, and how others see them. So that self-awareness becomes something that you have to tackle and start to be intentional in the dialogue of the emotion that's hindering and doing the I can't. It becomes so much more complex, and you do have this window that's super unique for fourth grade. For sure.
Yeah. It can be a really great year where you break the I can't into maybe it's hard for me, but I'm going to try versus the I'm just done now and that's it.
And that's a long journey. If a fourth grader starts to say I can't all the way to their 12th grade, and we wonder where this happens. And again, it's not about mindsets, effectiveness or not. And it's not about social emotional effectiveness or not. It's about the intentionality of incorporating that into you professional, understanding where your learners are to incorporate it in a way that helps the learner become more self-aware and reflective, metacognitive.
So lots of schools have great SEL programs, and they talk about them, but they're talking about them out of context of the learning that's going on. So they happen at the end of the day. We got 20 minutes left. Let's talk about this. It's a nice way to end the day. It's peaceful. It's low risk for kids.
Yeah. Low prep for teachers.
Low prep for teachers.
Which is not bad.
Right. The problem becomes that it's done out of context of where the kids need to apply it. So the brain, not knowing where it belongs, forgets it, doesn't use it, prunes it in order to make room for more important things. And then the child doesn't apply it to what needs to be applied to.
Yeah.
And fourth grade is a huge grade that they can abstract think, but it's got to have a context. It's got to have an anchor. It's got to have a reality to it that they're engaged in, which brings us to why we wrote these books. So fourth graders need that anchor. Our books provide an anchor a place for them to look, an experience that they can remember, characters that they can kind of dissect and see the point of view of and understand. And so that becomes an experience where we can discuss those emotions and that thinking through everything, not just that one time out of context.
It makes it a safe place for them to identify with someone else. So when you're looking for materials to help enrich this area, you have to find something, which was another catalyst for Noelle and I collaborating on it, something that's authentic, that packs more of a punch. So you need to have them aligned to your standards. So they're aligned to math and ELA and your social emotionals, so that you can continue to know that you are maximizing your time, but you're not negating the whole child, and you're just kind of plowing through with the academics. So I think that's was a big deal for us. Noelle wrote them in a way that were funny and whimsical. Brad Noggle drew the pictures that were witty and engaging, and they're very heavy on that graphic book. So the faces and the imaging is super important and engaging. The dialogues and the teacher material that we wrote was intentional with the questioning.
Came from Kathy's thinking, and Kathy literally would say, what would I say to this student right now?
It's important, if safety is in community is a big thing for fourth graders, being part of a community. You want to have a safe community. You want to have a community where there's risk takers and people that are willing to try hard things or fail forward or whatever buzzwords you want to say right now. But that is true. And we've worked with fourth graders with this material. You will find that they are more aware of who they are, but it created it was such a sweet conversation where the kids were able to identify in a book. It's totally safe, no harm. They could talk about the characters. So when we did it, we made everything small launch, right? You can use it as a launch. It aligns with your curriculum, so you can use it in the middle of a unit, and they're short. So it was like one book, 2 days, but then you can continue the dialogue for weeks. There's different writing prompts and extension problems. But the goal is, if you really want to change your culture, you can't just drop something in.
Yeah.
You have to over time. So you have 3 books that will align to various standards. There's something with fractions in 4th grade, because that's amazing.
It's a big thing.
Multi-step word, everything's a word problem, and dissecting that. But ongoing, consistent dialogues that you can anchor your conversation back to. So
right, because when kids are working and they struggle, and they should at some point, right? And they do, then the discussion, let's talk about that student in the book. Let's talk about that character. That's safer. And then once I talk about that and process that, then I can think about myself.
Yes. I want to also bring up with this is understanding that your standards or what you're teaching is part of a longer continuum. So, the fractions are being introduced in 3rd grade, maybe as low as 2nd grade, in a very broad, but by 4th grade, that's a big part of your, it is a big part of your curriculum. And you are totally starting geometry. They learn shapes and all that. So we picked things that were absolutely...
The big rocks.
They're the big rocks. Good word. Big rocks for
the
grade. Yeah, well, that's a good word. So the reason that Noelle and I wrote these was we're super passionate about the opportunities at each grade level, and we feel super passionate about this window of opportunity in grades 3 through 5, that you can look at the uniqueness of the brain and how it's developing in the sense of self. And you have to have an authentic learning opportunity, because as you notice how they develop, that's how they internalize things. So,
and this 3 through 5, once kids, if you've ever taught middle school or know any middle schoolers, it's tough to change that thinking once they get there.
Not impossible,
but really tough.
Very hard.
And so if we can hit them as 3rd, 4th, 5th years, they're just a little bit more malleable, and we can make some changes. So head to our website and check out our books. We know that you're going to love them. Please let us know the changes they make in your classroom climate.